Personally,
Yeah, I'm here. Welcome. How you doing?
Hello.
how you doing now?
Yes, big right. Were you able to purchase the laptop? I saw you already got it, right?
Yeah. Oh, it's gonna be here next week.
Yeah, that's great. I saw that.
Yes.
The RAM is
I
okay.
all right. I have
When you
to be
arrive,
at
I'll
home.
look.
Huh?
I'll look onto it. I'll look onto the laptop when you get the 32 to configure some things, any things you need.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
I have to be at Whole Food at 3:15, so I need to leave a little early. I apologize, but
Oh, no
I'm scared.
problem.
I have to be there at 3:15. I'm closing today to 7:15.
Okay. Yes, am I visible to you all?
Yes, you're visible to me.
So no, most of you are not here. All right. In the last class, we discussed about JDK, and let me see. Everyone, can you see a notepad?
I only saw Zoom.
Oh, you saw Zoom.
I only saw Zoom.
Let me show my screen again.
I can see the notepad now.
Okay. Okay. In the last class, we discussed about the JDK. We discussed about JDK, GRE. We discussed about GRE and JVM, in which we got to know that as an automation engineer, we have to install JDK in our machine. This is a computer. As we discussed, that JDK has two components. Okay. JDK has this JDK has two important components. One is GRE, the second is, and so remember,
Some development tools.
important libraries.
For JDK,
Important tools, sorry, important tools.
important tools.
GRE and important what?
Mm.
Important tools like the what?
Debugger,
What is it? The
debugger,
the what? The debugger
and
and
compiler.
the
Compiler.
compiler. All right. So because GRE, this GRE right here, Mike, I hope you're listening because you're not in the class right now. Hello, Mike, can you hear me? Because GRE is required, GRE is required to do what? To run the what?
I can hear you, Mr. Stan.
Okay. because GRE is, I thought that in the last time we talked about JDK, GRE, and JVM. JDK has two important components. What are those important components? You say the important components in JDK, which is the Java Development Kits. Java Development Kit. So it's in the JDK, we have, when you download your system, we have GRE and some important tools like the debugger and the compiler. Those are those tools, those are things that are inside this JDK. And because the GRE is required to run the application, right? GRE is important to run. GRE is Java Runtime Environment. So the job descriptions of GRE is to run the application, the Java application, the Java code. And the compiler, can someone tell me what the compiler does? You can mute yourself. The compiler is to do what?
I think the compiler compiles in a single go.
The compiler compiles the what? The code. Yeah. Is to compile. Is to compile the code. That is why JDK, this JDK is required. As a developer and automation engineer, you should download the JDK and configure the part of the bin folder in your system environment variable. Remember? You guys did that? You have to configure the part of, you have to configure, which we did, the part of JDK into your system environment variable. All right. So before you use that, you have to configure the part of JDK into your system environment variable. And we also discuss how Java become platform independent. Everyone, you can see the screen, right? What do you see on the screen? To be clear.
Platform independent.
Yes, we also discuss how Java become platform independent. Basically, there are three phases in Java application. What are those three phases? I want to make sure that you guys are reading.
I think you will compile, you write the code, you compile the code, you run or execute the code.
Yes, those are three phases in Java application. In Java application, you write the code, you then compile the code, and then you have to run or execute that particular code. Those are those three phases we have in Java application. You compile, you run, and you compile, you write,
You compile
you
and
write
you
the
run.
code, you compile, and then you execute or you run the code, right? Those are three phases. This is one. Then this is two. Then this is your three phases in what you have in Java. So when you write the code in extension.java, right? When you write the code with extension.java, and any code that is available inside the Java .java file will be in a high-level language. Okay, when you write this code, you write the code in high-level language. High-level language, when you write the code, write the code in high-level language, which is in .java form. Okay, in .java file. Like if you write the code, there's the source code, right? That is available inside the Java. So when you write the code, we write the code with extension .java. Okay, .java as an extension, right? I told you that in last week. When you write the code in .java as an extension, and then any code that is available inside the .java file will be known as a high-level language, an English-like language. Then, once we have done writing the code, we have to compile the code. Like when you write the code, when you want to save that file, you save it in .java file. The Java file is an extension. That means the source of that code where you're writing your code. Okay, so any code that is written in the Java file is written in an English-like language. Okay, so then once we have done writing this code and we have to compile, after that we have to compile the code. That's what we can check. That we can check when we compile the code. When we compile the code, we are checking that if that code that we have written is as per the syntax of Java, and we are not making any syntax-wise mistake while writing that code. Remember one thing that I told you, that compiler constitutes the picture. When you are compiling code, compiler constitutes the picture. And the duty of compiler is to check if your code is as written, as strict syntax rules of Java. If you're not making any syntax mistake. So when you write your Java, when you write your code, then you have to compile your code. The compiler considers the picture to check if you are writing your code as strict syntax rules of Java. If you're not making any syntax mistakes. So if you're not making any syntax mistakes, you're writing after writing your code, then compiler will compile the code. When compiler compiles the code, we get .byte code. We get a byte code. All right. We get byte when compiler compiles the code. We get the byte code out of the plain English language that was written by us, by the developer, in a plain language, which is a .java as an extension. Okay, we get byte code out of the plain English language that we have written inside the .java file. Okay, so when we compile the .java file, we will get the class file. Okay, when we compile this is .java file. Okay, this is the one that is written in normal English language. Okay, so when we compile the .java file, which is written in normal English language, we get a byte code. Okay, and that byte code is not readable by human. We cannot read it. Okay, that byte code is what is known as .class file. All right, So when we compile the code is in normal English language, is the .java file extension. When compiler comes to the picture, we're going to get what we call as what a bytecode, and that bytecode is what is known as .class file. Okay, the .java file is known as source file. This .java file, .java file is known as source file, and the bytes code after compilation is known as the .class file. That is the two files you have. Okay, after you have written your code, which is Java file as an extension, the compiler comes into the picture and compile this Java file, which is known, written by a human in English-like language. We get this what they call bytecode. Bytecode after compilation is after compiling this Java file, we get this bytecode, and that bytecode is known as what we know as .class files. All right. So when we run the code, the running of the code is the responsibility of GRE. Okay, GRE is responsibility of running the code. So GRE is responsible of running the code. Basically, GRE will be running .class file. Okay, GRE will be running .class file. Okay, so when we execute to run the program, knowing that GRE has two important components. All right. So GRE has two important components. What are those? Can someone remind me what are those components inside GRE?
Inside GRE, we
Inside
have
GRE, what do you have inside GRE?
JVM, and some important libraries.
So inside GRE, we have what? JVM, very important, most important component there. And what? Some important libraries. I will talk about that libraries today. I think I explained to you last time. So when we execute to run the program, knowing that GRE has two important components, one is JVM and some important libraries. And that is important library is what you know as what are those important libraries? .jar files. .jar files. The jar files, the meaning of the jar file is what you make Java archives. That was mean of the Java files, okay? In case you want to know that. It's called Java archives, Java files. JVM, GRE has two important components inside. Inside GRE, we have JVM, and we have some important libraries, nothing but the Java files. All right. So important of what's the jar files. So what are these jar files? Inside GRE, we have JVM, where we have the important library, which is called a jar files. So remember, when we run any class file, okay, we are running class file. We're not running Java files. We're running class files. So when you run you execute your code, the responsibility to execute your code is of GRE. And I told you that GRE has two important components. We have a JVM, very important component, and also have what? The Java files. Now, the running of we execute class files, okay? So JVM execute class files because when you compile your code, we have bytecode. That bytecode is also known as the class files from that of coming from the source for code, which are the Java files. So now, what is these Java files? If anyone is doing anything about Java files, everybody have you having about Java files?
I heard about it, but I don't think I check what they do or their function. But I just know that Java files are not executable.
No, 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 no. No, Java files are inside of the GRE. And what's these Java files? What are these Java files? Can you see the notepad, right? You can see the Notepad++ pad.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, the importance of Java files. Okay. What is this importance of these Java files? Also, now, when we run any class files, we don't execute Java file, we execute class files, right? Okay.
Mhm.
All right. So when we run any class files, basically inside GRE, JVM is solely responsible for running the class files. Okay. So GRE has two important components. We have the JVM and we have the important libraries, which is called the Java file. So JVM is solely responsible for running the class file. And inside JVM has what? Interpreter. JVM has running multiple functionalities. Inside JVM has an interpreter which interprets your code and you see it in your visual, okay? That's what the solely responsible to run the code is of the what JVM, right? So JVM is solely responsible for running the class file, and inside JVM has interpreter which executes the files. Primarily, it will convert this byte code. Okay, it will convert this byte code into machine language or machine code, and then you will get the output. Remember the working principle of the picture of your word?
What do you say?
You remember the working principle of your computer, right? You can see on the screen, right? How Java code works, right?
Mhm.
I just want to bring you back to can you see the screen?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So now, it's the responsibility of JVM to execute your code and with the help of interpreter, and you're able to interpret each code line by line. So the second thing is why we have, so I'm just trying to tell you what is this Java files, okay? I'll go to that. So the important thing is why we have some of these important libraries, which we know as the Java files. Why we have Java inside GRE. We talk about JVM, right? JVM is able to execute your code with the help of the interpreter, interpret the code line by line. Okay? All right. So why do you have the Java files inside GRE? You can try, anyone? Say anything makes sense to you, anything to make sense. Bivoko, think a little more. Why do you have the GRE? Why do you have the Java files inside this GRE?
Let's see if I have it. I'm coming.
Convert it to Java. Let's see. Okay. Now, can someone tell me if I want to print, anyone knows about Python, knows anything about Python, we have a C#, these high level languages. Now, can someone tell me if I want to print something like, if I want to print something on my system, I want to print I want to print hello. I want to print hello
In Java,
in Java.
you use system
I
dot
want to, I
out.
want, I want to print. I want to print. I want to print hello on my console. What do I write? Or what do I need to write? What is syntax? For
You use
example, if I want to print hello on my console using Java, what code do I have to write? Either with Eclipse or with my command prompt or anything to print hello on my console. What is syntax to print?
use system dot out dot print ln bracket open
Okay.
double
All
quotes
right. What of
print.
in Python? What of in Python?
In Python, you just use
Print.
print.
Just
Yeah, use
print. So if I want to print this hello on my console, I will say uh, system.out.print ln, right? And then I'll use my semicolon to terminate the code. This is how to print. This is syntax on how to print hello on my console. So my question is now, what is this system? What is this system? You say system.out.print ln,
Java?
right?
Is it not
No, what is this
predefined?
system mean? What does this system mean? What does this system itself now?
Is it not predefined? Is it a predefined term?
Yes. System here is a class.
The class, yeah.
Okay? It's a class. It's a predefined class available in Java. Okay? Mike, I hope you get it. So this system you are seeing here is a predefined. What do you mean by predefined? It's already there. It's a predefined class in Java, available in Java. So we will not define the system class again. We don't need to create it. We don't need to define it again. It's already there already. It is already being defined and developed by the Java developers, available in JDK folder. When you download your JDK folder, it's already there. It comes automatically. It's already there. It comes with it. It's inbuilt. Okay, so you don't need to start defining it in your work or trying to write it out or create it to try implement it. No, it's already there. So system here is a class, a predefined class available in Java. We not define system class anymore. This is already been defined and developed by the Java developer, available in JDK folder. And inside JDK folder, we have GRE, right? Inside JDK, when you download JDK, you have GRE, right? Abraham, remember, you downloaded it. That was the first class we did. You have downloaded Java in our system. So you remember when you downloaded JDK folder, we have GRE. And inside GRE, there is a jar. All right? Inside GRE, we have JVM and we have jar files. So inside GRE, there is a jar which contains this system class. So what happened most of the time, we will be using these predefined classes available in Java. We are not going to create our own class to do everything. Like we have a main method. Okay, we have a main method. Like, remember, that's in Java, we have a main method. The main method is a method in Java that is a main method in Java. So main method is not developed by us. It's already available in a class. And that class is a predefined class. System is a predefined class. Print NN, this print NN here. And when you define a method, you have a open and closing brackets. We talk about methods. Okay. So in high level, I just want to tell you that This system class is a predefined class. Print method is a predefined method. Main method is a predefined method. It's already there already. So the main method is not developed by us. It's already available in a class, and that class is a predefined class. System is a predefined. This system is a predefined class. This println is a predefined method in Java. So there are n numbers. There are multiple n numbers of methods available, n number of classes available in Java, which we use directly. We do not write class for them. You don't need to start creating class or anything by you modify class to create all those. So it's already present there in your JDK folder. And your JDK folder, the GRE. So GRE has the jar, files inside of it that contains all the predefined classes, contains all the predefined methods. You don't need to do that anymore. So it's an inbuilt. So those classes are inside the jar files, which are inside the GRE. That is why we require those jar files. Otherwise, if those jar files are not available with us, we are not be able to use the predefined classes in Java. Oh, I'm making sense to you all right now, right?
Yes.
Michael, are you getting that?
Yes, sir.
So let's say I want to use Selenium. I told you about Selenium is an automation tool where you operate or automate your web elements, your browser, and all those stuffs. It's a tool itself, Selenium. That's why you learn in Java. Okay, so let's say I want to use Selenium to automate my web application. That's your web browser, your internet, your Facebook, and all those stuff, your web application. The first thing that we should have in our system is Selenium jar. Selenium jar. When you guys will be learning about Selenium and to be an automation engineer, using automation engineer, Selenium to automate your web browser and all those stuff. So Selenium is a tool, an automation tool. So in that, if you download Selenium first thing that you have in our system when you download Selenium is Selenium jar. So we can use the classes, the interfaces, the method that is available in Selenium project. That's why jar is required to have. Similarly, if you want to use some predefined classes, some predefined interfaces, properties of Java, you require to have these classes somewhere with you. So those things will be available inside the jar, inside these jar files. That's available inside the GR. That's why you have to download JDK. And if you have downloaded the JDK, everything will be available on our system. On your system, you're able to write and run any codes you have in Java. I hope I make myself clear. Any question?
Yes. Hello, can you continue?
Yeah, any question?
No, no question from me.
Okay. And last time we talked about what are those we talked about rules for naming identifiers. Talk about rules of naming identifiers. Some of you are not here, but some of I don't know if you have seen that before. We talk about rules of naming identifiers, right? Hope I'm still visible to you. You can see the PPT. You can see the PPT, right? Abraham.
I can see rules for naming identifiers.
Eh?
I can see rules for naming identifiers.
Okay, so last time we talked about Java rules for naming identifiers. We said Java reserved keywords cannot be used as an identifiers. Public, static, void, main, string, earth. We can't use this as an identifier. We use Java keywords. What are identifiers? Can someone tell me what are identifiers? We talked a lot about that right here last week. Michael, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, what I mean by identifiers, what the Java identifiers, identifiers are the names that predefined names, as in you as what you use to name, like what you use to identify something in Java. Like in Java, we have what they call components in Java. Like we create classes in Java, we create methods in Java, we create identifiers, we create variables in Java. So what name do you use to identify these Java components? Is that thing is nothing but known as identifiers. Like what name do you use to identify your friend? How do you identify your friend? If I put it that way, how do you identify your friend? By his name, right?
Yeah.
They call it by his name. So that's what they mean by identifiers. So there are some rules of naming these identifiers. Identifiers are the legal name used to identify Java components. Java components, I told you, is like methods, we create interfaces, we have variables in Java. I said that last week. So what they say that the first rule is that they just say Java reserve keywords. What are reserved keywords? What do you mean by reserved keywords? Predefined words, that is, you cannot use them. If I say Java reserve keywords, I lose number of them. Okay, you don't need to mop up all these things. You see, all these are reserved keywords. Say abstract, boolean, break, case. All these reserved keywords cannot be used as an identifier. Like mother, father. Father is a predefined word, right? You can't say my father and my father. Does it make sense? My mother. You understand? Does it make sense? So these are predefined words. So all those, what is that? Predefined keywords, and I lose number of them. You see all these predefined keywords in Java. You don't need to mop all this, but you're going to know about, you see, like public, requires, return, short, static, int, while loops, short, packet new. All these are all reserved keywords in Java. You can't use them to identify any Java components. Father is a predefined word. Mother is a predefined word. You can't use it as mother. Okay, so what the rules in Java is saying here is that Java reserved keywords cannot be used as an identifier. E.g., for example, public. You can see public here. You can see, okay, let me see list of, you see that you can see public here. Okay, you can see private. You can see public here, right? It's public here. Abraham, you can see public here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because see, you can't use this as reserved keywords in Java. So that's to say, Java reserved keywords cannot be used as an identifier. For example, the publish and some of them, all right? So you can't use this as an identifier. That's what we said last week. So Java keywords cannot be used as identifiers, publish, static, void, main, and etc. Okay? So and again, I want you to put that somewhere. I want you to write down at the back of my head that all reserved keywords in Java start from small letters. All predefined classes available in Java begins with capital letters. I repeat, all the reserved keywords in Java start from small letters. And all predefined classes available in Java begins with capital letters. You can write that somewhere. Can you, Brian, do you get that? Do you know what I mean by that?
Yeah.
Michael, you can see this. All these without keywords, you see that they are all in capital letters. You see that? I mean small letters.
Yeah.
All right. Int, interface, long, module, native, all these are all small letters. So I want to put this down somewhere. If you want to write it down, you can write it down. All the reserved keywords in Java begins with this. Small letters. All the predefined classes, what are we predefined classes? What are those classes? All the predefined classes available in Java begins with a word, a capital letter. I know you guys just put that in. We're going to do that as a practical right today. Public class test. All right. So you see that test is in capital letters. You're going to see that in a few minutes. These are predefined words in Java, keywords in Java. They all begin with the small letters. But predefined classes in Java, okay, they begin with what? What they begin with? Capital letter. You can see system begins with a capital letter. All right? System begins with a capital letter. So these are predefined classes in Java that are available in your Java files. Okay? So important libraries, they all begin with the capital letters. Okay, so predefined classes in Java begins with a capital letter, while predefined methods in Java, you can see this is a method. Pre-telen method is a method. So you say it begins with what? It begins with what? With a small letters. So what you can write it down somewhere. All right. So just to know that every predefined all the wizard keywords in Java start from small letters. All the predefined classes available in Java begins with a capital letter. So, and the second rules of naming identifiers, it said first character. We did that last week. I'd also to bring you a recap of what we did. Okay. So, and second thing is that the first character of any identifier should be alphabetical character, A to Z, dollar symbol, or connection character, basically underscore. All right. So you have to remember that the first character of an identifier, whether the identifier represents a variable, whether the identifier represents a method, a class, or interface, okay, or anything. The first character should be alphabetical character or a dollar symbol, or can be a connection character. You can never use digits. I repeat, you can never use digits as first character for any identifier. I hope my point is clear. And point 3 say after first character, other characters can be a combination of underscore, dollar symbol, A to Z, or 0 to 9, or numeric value. Special characters are not permitted at any case. That is the rules, and rules are not recommended. They are mandatory. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So now, as we know, we have rules of naming identifiers, and we also have rules for the what? For naming source files. We have rules for naming identifier. We also have rules for naming the what? Source files. That's what brought us topic for today. Rules of naming or Java source file rules and declarations. Java source file rules are naming declaration. You can see that the first statement, you can see my screen, right? On the PPT. I'll make sure I'm clear. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So that brought us to the topic for today. We have the first statement should be a package statement. And there we go to one package. We won't talk about the first statement. In the last class, we discussed the rules for defining identifiers. As I told you, I just explained that to you. We'll talk about the rules for naming identifier. Similarly, there are some rules to define a source file. What are source file? Can someone remember what the source file? I just said that today. What is source file? I want to show everybody is on the same verse. What is source file? What is the source file? What is the class file? I said last week,
Java,
we have two files in Java.
Java file is known as the source file.
The source file, yes.
Mm.
So
And
source file is which has a .java as an extension. That's a source file. And there's a rules in declaring this source file. What are those rules? That's what you have on the screen. And that's what we have in our topic for today. So we're going to skip the first one. In last class, we discussed the rules to define identifier. As you can see, we just discussed that, make a recap of that. So similarly, there are some rules to define a source file. We know that source file are nothing but what? What are source file? Nothing but Java file as an extension. Okay? When you write your code, that's the source from where you're writing your code from. That's a source file, and you have to save it .java as an extension. We have different text files. We have in Notepad, we have .tx. In PHP, we have .php. In Python, we have .py. So every file has an extension of its own text. Okay, so you have to save it in a text file of that particular source you are going to write a code. So for Java, the Java as an extension is a source file where you're writing your source file. So there's a rule to declare this source file. Now we're going to skip number 1 and number 2 because number 1 and number 2 okay. Now, I know that you guys now understand what source file is. So yeah, source file are nothing but .java file with a class name where we be writing our source code, right? So where we write our source code is known as source file, and source file we always have what? .java as an extension. So here we have some rules that you need to follow to identify a source file. I repeat, source file is nothing but a plain file. Okay? Source file is nothing but a plain file with the .java as an extension. Where we'll be writing our code, like where we'll be writing our class, method, variables, okay, whatever we'll be creating, all those things will be creating inside the source file, which have .java as an extension. So we have to follow the important points here to follow the rules on declaring the source file. What are those rules? So now number 1 and 2, we got to skip number 1 and 2 because the first point is related to what you can see there. Can someone read this? What do you have for the first one? You can see the screen.
So the first statement should be a package statement, and there must be only one
statement should be a package statement. Okay. So we won't talk about that right now. We'll have to skip the first part. So what is the second one? What does the second one say?
The second statement should always be import statement, and they can.
Okay, so we got to skip these two of them, right? We're going to skip the first one. We'll skip the second one because the second one is related to import statement, which we do not know right now. Okay, we'll be covering the import statements, packages. We'll be dealing with what we call the oops. The oops concepts. Okay, we talk about that, right? Object-oriented programming. Oops. So we talk about much about the import statement and the packages. So we'll talk about the concept, talk about that. So the third part says, what the third one said? Can solve the third part. Let's move on to the third part. Let's forget about the first two.
Yeah,
can you be done, please?
Class. There can only be one public class per source file.
Okay. So the third part said, let's go for okay. He said the third part said there can be the third part said there can be only one public class per source file.
Mhm.
And the name of the source file should be same as of a public class. What does that mean? Now we create classes in source file, and inside classes we create variables, we create methods. So the important thing is that Java is object-oriented programming language. So whatever we'll be doing in Java, we have to create classes. And inside classes, we create methods, variables to perform the action that we want to perform in to the class. Okay? As we know that Java is this. Java is objects oriented. So in Java, we'll be creating a lot of things. We'll be creating classes, we're creating we're creating classes in Java. We're creating methods, and also we have variables and Java. So we're creating a lot of things inside this class. Okay, so now all those things we done in that source file. All those things we done in that source file. So what we're creating a lot of source file. Either we create classes, interface inside the source file. And there is a concept of access modifiers. You know what they call access modifiers in Java? Anyone heard anything about access modifiers in Java?
Modifiers, they are like private, public, default. That they use in
Yes.
Java. Yeah.
So to bring mind back again, okay. So Java is object oriented. So we'll be creating a lot of classes, we create methods. Inside that class, we create methods, we create variables, we create objects to perform any functionality. Just like right now, we're in a class. So in Java, you're a class, okay? This is a class of 2016, class of 2007, class of 2024. Okay, in our what do you find in our class? We see tables, we see chairs. So it's an object-oriented programming language. So before you do anything in Java, there must be a class. So there's going to be a class. And what do you have in your class? You have your board, you have your TV, you have your chairs, you have your laptops, you have your virus, pen, and all those calculators, laptops, and everything. So we're in a class. So inside that class, we still have we in that class we create. There are different things, objects are all there. So in that class, we still have to create some functionality to perform any functionality. Biro can write. So that's the function, that's the methods. All right. So I don't want to go too much about that. All right. So these are what we have. It's an object-oriented programming language. All right. So whenever we're creating a source file, either we create classes, interface inside the source file, and there is a concept of access modifiers in Java. Access modifiers, like he said, we have what we call, I call it triple PD. Okay, in case so you won't forget it. I call it the 3P, the 3PD. The 3PD, it says that we have what? Can someone remind me? Public,
Public, private,
private, protected, and default. And default. These are what we have as the access modifiers in Java. Default. Okay, public, private, protected, and default. Now, for example, what is this access modifier? To define this access modifiers, we have public, private, protected, and default. These are what we call access modifiers. Access modifiers in Java. All right. So now, to explain these access modifiers in Java, we are still talking about, I want to make you understand what they said, the rules, Java source file declaration rules. What is that about? I told you we will skip the first and second one. We don't know anything about that right now. You know how to do import statement. So I don't want to talk about this, the third rule. The third rule said there can be only one public class per source file, and the name of the source file should be same as of public class. So that's what I'm trying to explain what it is right now. So I'll tell you that the concept in Java, which we call the access modifiers in Java, we have the public, we have the private, we have the protected, and we have default. Now, for example, I have a car with me. So my car is a private car to me. My question to you all is that, can someone tell me, can anyone use my car, or I only can use my car, or a person who I know can use my car? It's a private car to me. All right. Can anyone use my car?
No.
Yes, if you give
Because
them access.
if I give them access to it, anyone can. So, but it's a private car. No one can use my car. That's what I want to know. No one can use your car.
No, nobody
Because
can
your
use
car,
it except if you
yes,
give
because
them
your
access.
car is your private car. Your laptop is your private laptop. You have your code to, you have your PIN code to your laptop. Nobody can use your car. So if anyone can use your car, your laptop, you have to give them access to it and give them permission to do that. So that's private car to me. So anyone can use, no one can use my car. Or I can give access because I give access to that person because it's private. That person can use it, or else they can use it. Or person I know can use my car. So what's the case here? I have the car. The access to my car is either to myself or to my family member or to my friends or to the person who I know or trust to access my car or use my car. So like now, what public buses do you have in Texas? For those in Texas here, what public bus do you have in Texas here? Michael.
To be honest, I have no idea, man.
Oh,
I don't.
you don't know about the DAT boxes?
Nah, you talking about
I
Greyhound?
know.
You talking about public buses?
Yeah, I say Greyhound. Yeah, Greyhound is a public box too. Yeah, so Greyhound is a public bus in New York. I don't know, Frank. Do you have the name of the public boxes in New York? What's it called? The trains and all those like that.
It's called MTA.
MTA. So those MTA and the UK, London. Everyone, what is the public bus in London there? Is it Enenia or what do you call it? Enenia or
We have Blue Star.
Blue Star? What of the Enenia? Is it public bus too?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So the NNR, the DAT buses, the Blue Cross, and all that. So the DAT also, all these buses are paid for public transport. If you have access to it, so if you have access to it because you pay for it's public, anyone can have access to it. Was a public bus. So similarly, in Java, we have different components. What are those components? We have classes in Java. Okay, these are Java components. We have classes in Java. We have variables. We have variables in Java. We create methods in Java. We have interfaces. You go just have you go come to this class and you know that what interfaces, right? We create interfaces in Java. We have interfaces, we have constants. Okay. So things we do in Java. All these are known as what? are known as
JavaScript.
Java components. These are all Java components. Classes, methods, all those things are Java components. And when we're creating these different Java components, these variables, remember when I was talking about int var equals to 10, right? If you remember when I was talking about the demo class, let's call those things, right? Okay. So we have all these components in Java, interfaces, methods, we create objects, we create interfaces, constants, variables, and all those things. So, and when we'll be creating these different Java components, we will set the limitation of this accessibility. Who can use these classes, these components, who can use these classes, or who can use these variables? When I say int var equals to 10, I need to set the limitation. Who can use it? Who can use this variable? Who can use, when I said class, for those that attended last class, I know I say class test, when you create a class in Java, you create, what is Java component? You create a lot of things, So anything you create in Java, any component you have in Java, I need to set the accessibility. Who can use these Java components? When I'll be creating these different Java components, we will set the limitation of their accessibility, who can use these classes, or who can use the variables we just created in Java. When I say who, I mean which classes can use those classes. Which method can use those variables? Which method can use those methods? By defining the accessibility, we define the security level. So similarly, to perform this limitation or this accessibility, we have the access modifiers. Please. Which defines the accessibility of a particular Java component. Like which class or method can use those Java components. And we define these accessibilities, those limitations, by using any of these reserved keywords. What are those reserved keywords?
Public, static.
Yeah.
Void.
The public, protected, private, and default. So all these things have different functionalities. Like whenever we define any Java component with public keyword, that Java component will be accessible to every classes available inside that project. Anybody can use it. It's because it's public. The public transport is for the public. Okay, so when I define anything private, that we have accessibility to that class only. If I say private class, it's only for that class. It's a private class. It's not for the public to get into our class because it's a private class. I'm defining this class to be private. It's not a public class. If a public class, then everybody can have access to that class. But if it's a private class, private discussion, what you need to do is a private class. The class is locked. You don't allow anybody to come into our class. So it's a private class because I define the accessibility, the limitation. We have to define the limitation to that particular Java component. So that's what I'm saying. By defining the accessibility, we define the security level. So similarly, to perform this limitation or this accessibility, we have these access modifiers. We define the accessibility of a particular Java component. So any Java component is saying public class. that means that class is public. Anyone can have access to that. If you define Java component with private, that means it's private, it's locked. No anything, you cannot make access to that or take any class or take any variable that is being created in that class or take any method that is in that class into your own project. It's not allowed. It cannot be allowed. That's when your cell phone, you see default. I say that default. I set it as private, privacy terms, privacy and all those stuff. Because these are Java languages. Now, all these different access modifiers, public, protected, private, default, have different functionalities. Like whenever we define any Java component with public keyword, that Java component will be accessible to every classes available inside the project. So when we define anything private, that we have access to that class only. So we have different modifiers with different functionalities. We are going to talk about classes. We're not going to talk about more in details about that, but today we're going to talk about classes and define this declaration, source rule declaration for today. But next I'll talk about objects. But right now I'll talk about declaring this declaration of source folder, and also talk about class. We'll cover more in detail when we're dealing with the OOPS concept here. Okay. Now, going to the third point, do anybody have any question? You know what I'm talking about, what I mean by access modifiers in Java? Public, static, public, protected, private, default. Those are the 4 access modifiers we have with us. Anyone have any question?
I don't have a question.
Nick, do you have a question? Now, I hope you can see the PPT, right? You can see the third rule.
Yeah.
Now, he said, what is the third rule said? Can someone read it again?
There can be only one public class per source file, and the name of the source file will be the same as of the public class.
All right, you guys understand what source file is. Source file is where you write a source code, where you write a code, the source where your code is coming from source, and it has the .java as an extension. Like if you want to save your notepad, when you want to save your notepad, when you write anything on your note or your notepad here, I want to see when I save it, save as, you can see the extension. Every file has its own text files. You see that text t.tx. If you want to save anything in Java, you have to make it .java. For Python, it's .py. PHP.php. Okay, so that's what I'm doing by source, where your source is coming from. You save it in that extension. And that's what the extension, that's where it's coming from. So, but the third we said there can be only one public class per source file. Source file where you're writing your code, which you add .java as an extension. And the name of the source file should be same as of public class. There can be only one, just one, not two, one public class per source file. You're writing your code. In that your code, only one class has to be public. So what this means is that we ask ourselves, how many classes can we create in a source file? How many classes can we create in a source file? Can someone ask a question? How many classes can we create in a source folder? How many classes can we have in a source folder? You are creating your source file. How many classes can you have?
N sources.
N
Number of classes. You can have numerous of them, right? Okay. N number of classes inside a source file, depending on the requirement, okay? But you can only have only one public class. After all the N number of classes you have in your source file, out of the N number of classes that you have inside the source file, only one class can be a what? A public class. So before I go into that, I want to tell you how to create a class. How do you create a class? How do you create a class? How do you create a class? How we create a class? Let's do one thing. Let's save this. Let me save this. Save as. In my notepad, let me go here. Let me do one more thing. Let me do one thing here. Let me save this notepad. Let me save test Java. Let me create this folder and say Java batch 1. Okay, save. Okay, now can you see this? You can see this, right? You can see this file, right?
That's the Java.
That's the Java. So basically, with this extension of Java, is this a valid source file or invalid source file? Is this an invalid source file or is it a valid source file or invalid source file? We have 5 here, just so you one person.
We've done it on the notepad, right?
I know. I'm just telling you this. I'm not at this thing. This is a test.java. I see this test. Is it a valid source file or invalid source file? Forget about what is written. I've not written anything on the. I'm not writing any code here. I'm just saying this. Just look at the top right here. Test.java. You can say this is a file basically with extension.java. Is this a source file or invalid source file? Yeah.
Is valid.
It's valid source file because what? The extension of this file is .java. So the syntax to create now, this is a source file, right? Now, this is a source folder because it's what? .java as an extension. All right? So that's the source file. I told you what source file is. That .java as an extension. So now, because why? Because of the extension of this file is .java. So the syntax to create a class inside the source file, the syntax to create a file inside a source file. You say the keyword, use the keyword, you have to use the keyword class and the name of the class. Like, for example, you say class, and the name of the class. Let's say assume the name of the class is text. You say class text and open curly braces and closing curly braces, all right? So what I mean is that if you want the keyword to name a class, to define a class, to create a class, you say the name class first. You say class first. Then what is the name you want to give to that class? You say, like example, I say text. Then open and closing curly braces. That's how you define a class. Anyone have any question?
So we
Open
don't
and
have to put public. Like for
you say
example,
what?
you say it's just class test, so there's no need for public there, right?
No, forget about the public thing first. I'm just saying, forget about public. Forget about public. Mosey, yeah, we don't forget about the public. I'm just trying to come to make you understand what the third rule is saying. Say there can be only one public class per source file, and the name of the source file should be the same as the public class. So now what I did is that to explain this, I said first you have to create a class. What I did first, I have to show you, ask you if this is a source file or not a source file. I say it's a source file because it's what it has .java as an extension, so it's a valid source file. So inside that source file, you have to create your classes. All right, you have to create your class in that source file. And what is the syntax to create to create a file inside a source file? You have to use the keyword class. You have to use the keyword class and the name of a class. What is the name of a class? The name of a class can be anything: home class, sample class, test class, Frank class, New York class, but class have to be first. Don't say test class. You can't put the name before the component, before the Java, before the class keyword. Okay. Any question? And then you open and close curly braces. If you don't understand, just take me back. I will explain to you because we have to do it up. We are diving into the practical scenario of it. And if you mix from these rules and everything, you'll be lost. So that's one I will take it one after the other so everyone will follow the rules, how to name, how to declare a source file. What are those rules? You need to know, or else you have a compilation error when you start writing your code. Any question?
No question.
Okay, so then I said open and curly braces. That's how you define a class. Forget about the public thing. We'll talk about that later. So this is just the syntax how to create your public class. Now we have the 4 access modifiers. Talk about the 4 access modifiers. Now talk about the public and the private, the protected, and the default. Now we have the 4 access modifiers, but what are those 4 access modifiers? Ask you, what are the 4 access modifiers we have in Java? Someone, you mind again? Revoke, please. What are those 4 access modifiers we have in Java?
Private, public, protected,
And default. And default, right?
and
Okay,
default.
now we
Yeah.
have 4 access modifiers, but precisely, we have 3. We have 3. Precisely, that's what I'm saying, we have 3. We have public, private, protected. And if you are not using any of these access modifiers. Precisely, we have public, private, protected. Forget about default. You say we have private, the 3Ds, the 3Ps. The 3Ps are the what? The public, private, protected. Those are the and default, 3PD, right? Private, protected, public, and default. Okay. But I'm telling you now, precisely we have three. Why do you have three? We have three because if you are not using any of these modifiers, if you're not using any of these access modifiers, the public, the private, the protected, I repeat, if you are not using any of these three access modifiers, the public, private, protected, then we say the access modifiers we are using is what is default. If you're not using any of this public, private, protected access modifier, then we are using our access modifier is default. I know some of you didn't have, you do that. I know if you have done that in your high school, in your colleges there, when we say X, I say X plus 2 equals to what? 10. This is just common algebra though. Abraham, remember this? Your colleges, right?
Yes.
This X, there is 1 there, right?
Yes.
Yeah, but you don't need to put that 1 there because the S is already 1 itself. Okay? So similarly in Java, if you are not using any of those public, protected, private, okay? But if you use any of the three access models, that means your component is what is known as default access modifiers. If you're not using any of these three modifiers, then we say the access modifiers you are using is what is default. Because there's nothing in front of it. Like this one, if I say class test, that means this is a default one. I didn't declare it as public. That means it's default. I didn't declare it as private. That means it's default. I didn't declare it as protected. That means it's default. So if I'm not using any of these three access modifiers we have in Java, definitely, precisely, I told you we have three access modifiers. We have 4. But precisely, if I'm not using any, you don't say class test. Okay? So if I didn't define my class as public, I didn't define it as protected, I didn't define it as private, that means my class here is a default class. But explicitly, when I'm creating this class in Java, when you're creating variables or method, we are not going to use default as the access modifier. I can't define default here. I can't say default. I repeat, I say explicitly when I'm creating class or I'm creating variables or I'm creating method, we are not going to use these defaults. You see this? We're not going to use default as the access modifier explicitly. Because this default access modifier, this default keyword, we use only with strict statements in Java. Only use the default access modifier in Java is used in strict using strict statement in Java, but you are not going to use default keyword explicitly. You can't go use the default keyword. You are not going to use default keyword explicitly to define access modifier. No, this is wrong. Default access modifier are not available with us. If you are not using these three, if you're not using these three access modifier, which say that you are using what which say that you're using default access modifier, or the access modifier for this particular Java component is default, because I didn't define anything here. I just say class test. So if I say class test, that means your class here is default, but you cannot write that default here. It's not allowed in Java. I hope I make myself clear. I'll try to explain to you, because you start going to practical aspect of it. That's why I want you to really explain, understand this. Okay? Classes and rules in defining the source file. That's what we have for you today. I want to make you understand that before going to objects. Rules in defining, declaring source file, and what are these texts? What are these classes we have in Java? Any question? We cannot use default statement in Java. Default statements are used in strict statement in Java. You cannot define any Java component as default. It's not allowed. Default statement is not here with us. It's not available with us. If you are not using these three access modifiers, we say the public, the private, the protected, that means your access modifier for that particular Java component is default. Default is not used explicitly in Java. Any question? You want to go home and read about it before going to practical aspect of it? Should we end it right now? Now, talking about the classes. Can someone tell me what classes we can use in access modifiers in Java? What are the classes we can use in access modifiers in Java, which are allowed?
Public.
Public and what?
Private and protected.
Okay. Those are three classes we have in Java. But with class, that's in Java, we have public, private, protected. Now with class, we can use only two access modifiers. And what are the two access modifiers you can use in a class?
Public and private.
Yes. Can you use only public? No. It's not public and private. Anyone?
These are public and default.
Yes, it's public and default. It's public and default. Okay. So either you use public or we not use any access modifiers. No, default statement is straight statement. I use it. So public. Either we use public or we not use any access modifiers to define a class. Therefore, with class, we use only two access modifiers. And the two access modifiers are allowed are public, default. Either we use public or we not use any access modifier to define a class. We cannot use private modifiers to define class in Java. This is not allowed in Java. We cannot use private modifiers to define a class in Java. This is not allowed in Java. But there is a condition. Because you know in Java, there is a what we call inner class. So in inner class, what is that inner class? Inner class is nothing but class inside a class. That's what the inner class is. It's nothing but class inside a class. We will discuss that in detail when we deal with the inner class concept. Okay, we won't talk about that today. But in class, we have variables. Okay, we create method in a class. Just in our class, we have pen, we have board, we have laptops, we have number of things in our class. So we have our books. Okay, so in a class, we create variables. You don't that way, but just have it in your back of mind that in a class we create variables, we create methods and number of things. So similarly in Java, inside a class, we can create one more class. So private access modifiers, basically all these access modifiers, public, protected, private, is allowed in the inner classes. But for the outer class, or the main class, as you can call it, either you can use public access modifier or I repeat, I said, so, but for the outer class or the main class, as you can call it, I said, either you can use public access modifier or you will not use any access modifier, basically a default one. So what am I saying in a nutshell? We should know that the only access modifier that is allowed in the main source folder, okay? The only access modifier that is allowed in the main source folder, what is that? We should know that the only access modifier that is allowed in the main source folder is only two access modifiers that are allowed. And that is what? Can someone tell me?
Default and public.
Default and public access modifiers. That's it. We have the private, the protected, public, well, they are used as an inner class. This is allowed in the inner classes in Java. We create a class inside a class. The inner concept, we'll talk about that later, but in what you have is only public, either your access modifiers to define a Java component, it can be public or default. And the default statement is strictly used. You cannot define a Java component as default because default statement is used as a key statement in Java. If you didn't declare your access modifier as public, you didn't define it as protected or whatever it is, that Java component is automatically a default class or a default component. Like right here, I have class, I have test class. Okay, this is my class. Define my class as the name of my class here is test class. Okay, the class keyword then followed by the name of the class, test class. Okay, so right here I didn't define it in public class text. No, I just say class test. So that means automatically is what is a default class. But that default statement is used switch statement in Java. So default statement is not available because okay. So every class here is known as what a default class. All right. So only two access modifiers we have in Java. Only your Java component can be default and it can be what public class. Any question?
Sorry, I have a question. I want to know, I'm just curious, if I use a default to create it, to create a modifier, does it mean that I won't be able to edit or work on the project after creating or something?
Your compilation will be confused, right?
Huh?
Because it's not allowed. You can't say default class. It's used in street statement. Not that it's won't have, but it's used in street statements. Okay. I want to go into details about that to get confused about because you're just learning what classes is and what are these access modifiers. Okay. So I don't want to go in technical details about it. Or to when we start dealing with the packages and the import statement and talk about the hook concept, then you understand what I'm talking about. Okay, you're just knowing what this access modifier is. Okay, as said, it's used in street statement in Java. You use a street statement. Okay, so the only two access modifiers, default and public. Okay, if didn't call, this is default, right? This is a default class. But I didn't put default here. I say it's used as switch statement. Okay, so I don't want to go into details about that. So the only two of them, public access modifiers and default access modifiers. But the protected private is used as an inner class inside a class. How you are what a default that's what we got that's what we call the inner classes in Java. It's used as the inner classes in Java. It's not, you can't use it as the outer class. Okay, you can use this private protected used as an inner class. Inner class is class inside a class. It's nothing but class inside a class. So we discussed that in detail, the inner class concept. In today's class, we talk about the classes and declaration of source rule for declaration of a source file, rules for declaring source files. Okay, and about classes.
Okay.
So private access
Secondly,
modifiers. Go ahead.
Okay, I just want to know, when we start working or during interview, are they going to ask us this? And when we start working,
what year? I will give you.
The second
Yes.
question is, when we start working, do we need to start? Are we the ones that will create all this, as in to be able to decide if we are using default or public, or create the class from scratch?
Okay. Why are you learning Java is for you to do automation, Selenium. So Selenium is language binding. So it's language binding in terms that Selenium does not, because I'm a Java developer and Selenium, and I need to learn Python to automate Selenium because Selenium is only with Python. Or I'm a C# developer, I don't know Java. I need to go learn Java to do automation with Selenium. So Selenium is a language binding. Either you are a Python developer, you know Python languages, or you know C# languages, you can be able to use Selenium as to automate your tool. Because it's language binding, it works with Java, it works with C# and all those stuff like that. So why you learn Java is because you want to do Selenium. So you start creating a lot of classes to validate your test cases. Okay, so that's why you learn all those things. You learn what are classes, what are variables, how to define my method, and all those stuff. So run my test cases and all those stuff. We have in Facebook, we have multiple applications, we have multiple functionalities of Facebook. We have notifications, we have sign in, we have find the friends functionality. So all those are methods. They are like what you need. So you need Java to do all those things, automate all those things. So in all those, you start creating classes for that. I don't want to go into, you get just follow me sequence. You understand your answer will be answered. Your question will be answered. Okay. So you ask that you want to ask you this question, but it's definitely to ask you some things you understand about basic things in Java. So you need to list it step by step how to implement your. So what we asked interview, most of all these things. What is a class? What is objects in Java? What are those for? What are access modifier? What are the different access modifiers we have in Java? Access modifiers we have in Java. So you know this, okay? So what is how do you declare a class? What are the keys to declare a class? There's a lot of things to learn. There's a lot of things to know about this. This was the start. Okay. There's interview questions for that. No, bear in mind that public, private, protected, they are used as inner class concepts. Inner class is a class. So we won't go into detail about that, but you should know that there are two access modifiers we have in Java. We are public or it can be default, as we have right here. Okay. This is my default class because I didn't declare it as public, or I didn't define it as protected. If it's there in my inner class concept, I didn't declare it as private or protected or public. So it's considered to be a default class. As default class is not used as in strict statement explicitly. So now we have public, we have default. What is that public? What is that public? What is this public access modifier? What if I say something is public? Public.
I mean, it's open. It's open to the public, or
yeah, it's public. It's also so in Java. If I define, okay, if I define, okay, if I said if anything is defined as public, it will be accessible
by the public.
Everywhere. Okay. In the project. You are creating a project in your Java, so it will accessible everywhere in the project. All right. Now that's different between the public and default. So default is default if anything is declared as default, it will be accessible only inside that package where that component, where the component is being defined. All right.
Mhm.
So public and default, which are the two access modifiers we have in Java. So what is that public? If anything is defined as public, it will be accessible everywhere in your project. Default, if anything is declared as default, okay, it will be accessible only inside that package where that component is being defined. No one else can use it, it's default. So let's take an example. Maybe I create a Java project called Selenium in my project, or in our company, your work right now, you're in the field, you're working as an automation engineer. You guys back in a project like a Selenium project or Facebook project. You want to create a Facebook application. Now, inside the Selenium project, I have multiple packages. Inside the Selenium project, I have multiple packages. I have test case package. Sorry. I have test case package. I have objects. Let me say, can I say object package? Object package. Sorry. Test case package. I have object package. I have a reports. I have report package. I have screenshot. It doesn't mean anything. I have screenshot. I have screenshot package. Okay. So now this Selenium project is a project for or Facebook project. Okay. Or Texas Human Health Project, a web, something. Okay. NFA, NFL projects, web, is a project for us how to build this application. It's a project. So we have inside our project, we have packages. Now we have test case package, we have object package, we have report package, we have screenshot package. Okay. So that's a project for us. So let's say test case package. Inside test case package, I have a test class. Inside this test case package, okay, I have test class. And that test class is what is public. And inside the object package, I have my what? Home class. And the home class is what? What is the home class going to be? It's nothing but default, right? Okay, so what am I trying to do here? The difference between the two is that since the test case package, since the test case is public, since the test class, since the test, class is public, it will be accessible everywhere in the project. But the home class is defined as default. You can see the home class. The home class is defined as default class. So whatever class that are available inside the object package, whatever components, whatever class, if you create a class inside this object package, you guys don't understand this more. Yes, I just wanted to tell you high level. I repeat, because of this test case package, this test class is defined as public. Because it's defined as public, it will be accessible. It will be accessible everywhere in the project, in this Selenium project, everywhere in this project is accessible. Anyone can access it, can use it, can use its classes, can use the variable inside of it, can use the method inside of it, can use the interface inside of this particular test class, test case package. But the home class is defined as default because since it's defined as default class, so whatever class that are available inside the object package, anything, any class you created inside of this object package, only those package will be able to use this home class. Because default components are accessible inside the package only where that component has been defined. I hope I make myself clear. The home class will only be accessible only inside the object package. But this test class will be accessible inside all the packages of the classes. That is the high level. That is in high level, that's the difference between the public and the default modifier. Any question? Our time is up. Any question? We'll continue next time. Any question? I repeat, I said, if I take an example, I said the test case package. Inside a test case package, I have a test class, which is public. And inside the object package, I have the home class, which is nothing but default. The difference between these two is that since the test case is public, since the test class is public, is a public class, it will be accessible everywhere in the project. But home class is defined as default class. So whatever class that are available inside the object package, only those package will be able to use this home class because default components are accessible inside the package only where that component has been defined. This home class will only be accessible only inside the object package, but the test class will be accessible inside all the packages of the classes. In high level, this is the difference between the public and the default modifier.
So next, I'm going to go into depth about it before we start doing the practical aspect. I want you to understand what these rules of limit identifiers and the source rules, declaring source file, and what are these classes in Java. Then you continue so that you understand more before start going to the practical aspect of it and start seeing what the third rule says. The third rule says that there can be only one file, one public class, for a source file, and the name of the source file should be same as that of public class. What is the source file? Source file is nothing but the Java file as an extension where you write your source code. And when you write your source code, that the Java file as an extension. Okay? Any question?
I understand a majority aspects of the explanation. And maybe I will check some other materials to improve it. Thank you.
All right. So our time is fast spent. This we have to do as much. Then we start next. We want you to go through it again, understand what this is all about. Rules. Okay. We dive into these rules again. Okay, dive into the rules and complete the rules and start doing the practical aspect of it. But understand what this public and default class is. You know that default class is used as Swiss statement in Java. You don't have it with us. When you're not using any of the access modifiers, public, private, protected, then you say that your access Java component is what is default. The default is used as Swiss statement in Java. So what is different between the public and default access modifiers? You can see that we created a project in your company. The project is Selenium project or Facebook project or Bank of American project, any project you guys are banking on. And in that project, we're going to have multiple packages in that project. So in that project, we're going to have, do you guys want us to start doing it Monday, Saturday, and Sunday so we can finish on time on Java? I don't know your time will look like. But I'll decide that anyway, Nick. So,
puts one of them in trouble.
So we decide that. So any guy has any question? When you define any package, your job, we have different, we're embarking on the project. Our project is nothing but the project we're embarking on a banking project or calculator project or whatever our project is. So in that calculator project, we might have addition, we have subtraction, we have multiplication. Just for example, okay? So calculator is a project for us. All right? So your calculator project, we have addition project, we have addition, we have subtraction, we have multiplication, we have multiple things we have in our projects. Okay, so in addition project, we have test class. Name of our class is test class, and that test class, we have to create something inside that project. I will explain that to you. See that in the high level, see that in virtual. Okay, just so there's theoretically explain that to you. So you start doing the practical, explain that to more, you start seeing that practical. But theoretically, I want you to understand that what it is. Okay, so addition. No, in that addition, because in your calculator, you minus, you subtract, you divide, you multiply, all those things. So those are now your packages. Addition package, subtraction package in your calculator project. So in your addition package, we have a test class. We create a test class. And that test class, we make it public. So because I make it public, anyone can use addition it will make available to any package that is available in that calculator project. In the subtraction package, you can also go to addition package and take any classes. In that class, we have method in that class. You can, just like in our class, they can come into our class because our class is made public. Anybody can come into our class and pick up a pen and go and use it, and pick up a laptop and go and use it and bring it back. And all those. So it's accessible to every packages. You'll be accessible inside all the packages of the classes. But if we make suppression in suppression package, we have home class in suppression package. In suppression package, we have the home class, and the home class is made as default, just like this. It's made as default. Then we can know in that package, in that project, which you have different packages. We can't go to that default package and use any of their stuff in that class. It's only them themselves can use their own thing. It's because it's default. Remember your phone. You make your phone to be default. It's default. You can see that in your system. Right? You can see that in your system. It's always default. All right? So you can see that in your system. In the case of your mobile phone, default is set as default. You download default. So anything goes in, download. It's default. You can't call. You can't do any addition. You can't even do any modification, anything in that particular setup. So, since you don't have any question, I assume you understand it. So we continue next class. You go to the videos again, go through this thing, and I mean, don't always depend on our class alone. You can also do your own research and you can combine and write notes, then do some practice, then you'll go to know more better than that. Anybody have any question before I end the classes? Our time is fast spent. Okay. No question. I'll see you in next class, okay? Have a good weekend.
Thank you, Stan.